Okay, so we've determined that the stator in the rear of the engine on the CX500 is bad in the previous video. Let's test our regulator rectifier, which we can do without the engine running, and then let's just make some progress toward getting the engine running. Welcome to Urban Monk TV. So there's a couple of things that we can still test with the electrical system on the CX500 without having the engine running, and we'll do those in this video. I just wanted to give a couple shouts out to some good people. One, you've heard about him before. Rodney at Allison Sales and Canvas saved the day for me. The Honda CX500 is a little finicky in what kind of wrench you can use to get the spark plugs in and out of the cylinder heads. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So there's one of your cylinder heads, and way down inside there is where the spark plug will go, obviously. And that whole channel, let's call it, just narrows right down toward the base. The spark plugs are 18 millimeter. So what comes in my socket set? Pretty typical socket set in the United States comes with 1 or 2 spark plug sockets, and they're 13/16 and 5/8. So, you know, this is what I have with the rubber inserts to actually hold a spark plug, but neither of these are going to work. And when I look at my deep well socket set, of course I go 15, 17, 19. 18 goes right in there. So as I often do, I'm texting with Rodney and I start crying and moaning about my spark plug dilemma, and he says, "I think I got you covered. BMW has inset spark plugs too on the Boxer engine, and it's 18 millimeter, and he said, I'll send you the wrench for that." So he sent me this awesome little wrench, which is 18 millimeter on one end. It has this nice centering nylon collar, but it just barely fits in there, but it fits, and I got the plugs out. So thanks to Rodney, and he sent me on top of that an Allison Sales and Canvas t-shirt. This shirt I'm wearing is actually the shirt that I wore in the first video of tearing down my GS550 to begin the Mr. Corton build, which is the build that is in my book. And it's really showing just how long that project was. I got like tears in the back. I'm going to try on my new shirt. Hey, how about that? I actually like the fit too. So Rodney, thanks man. So the other guy I want to plug is a gentleman named Chauncey at Ride More Moto, a YouTube channel. It's a new channel. He has very few subscribers, but I think he's going to have an interesting go on YouTube. He is restoring a Goldwing. He's actually got 2 old Goldwings, and I see him working on both of them a little bit, but he's definitely getting a GL 1100 running again, early 80s model, and that's a bike that's kind of near and dear to my heart. I've just always loved them, and my good buddy Brad has loaned me his Goldwing many times when I was taking a long hiatus from owning motorcycles in my life, when I had a young family. So I've been on Goldwings a bunch, not ones as old as the 1100, but the 1500, the 1800, and just really like them. But I remember them being in the shop when I was buying my first CX, and my friend Rodney and I would go to University Motors in Fargo, and there was always a Goldwing around to look at, and I just thought, wow, that thing is so big and it's got all the bells and whistles, and they were fun to me. So check out his channel, Ride More Moto, and watch him bring back to life an early 80s GL 1100. So here is the Regulator Rectifier, or as many people love to call it, the Rectifier Regulator. Doesn't matter. We've got some wires coming off of this thing. Well, what comes into it? These three yellows coming from our stator, which are bringing that high voltage AC current in 3 phases, they go into it, and what comes out is a red wire, a green wire, and a ground or earth. And I think the first thing I'm going to do, just to make sure that I'm seeing the correct wires, because it's a bit of a jumble in here, is I'll take out these 2 bolts that mount this whole assembly in here so that I can just get a better look at it. I'm not going to unplug anything at this point. Okay, so looking at the back side of the Regulator Rectifier, I had to clean these off. They're a little dirty, but again, you got the 3 yellow, you got a red, a green, and you can hardly see the black one there. It kind of twists down and around, but the black is the earth or ground. And so we have the green actually has a little bit of a stripe to it. Where does that go? And then the red has a white stripe, and we just have to make sure that we're following the correct wires here and putting our probes in the right place. The green and the red white go down underneath here and are in one of these 3 plugs, and the color of the wires changes on this side. I gotta make sure that I can see that I'm testing the right color on the other side, which I can't see with the thing in place. So I'm gonna take the regulator and rectifier, I'm gonna take it out of this bracket for now. Of course, this would have been easier when I had it mounted. I should put it back on there. There, I got it, but I had shut the camera off because I didn't want to burn up my memory. That's in a tricky spot. And the one below, that one I can get at with an extension. Pull the starter solenoid off of here carefully without pulling the wire out of this fusible link. Alright, now I can get my wrench in there. Get that bolt off. Okay, now let's look underneath here. Okay, so green and the red come out into this short little harness. Sorry, green and the red come out of this short little harness here. And they go down. The red is right there. It's really dirty. I'll see if I can clean that off for you guys. And then, sorry, there's the red and the white, and the green is right there. So that's where we need to be testing, and then we can test up here for the yellow, because that's the other end of this thing, is just right up to here.
If you like motorcycles, custom builds, or just like a good story about a man's 3-year effort to build a tribute to his childhood teacher, get a copy of Creating Mr. Corton. In it, you'll learn how this man changed this man for the better. How this man took this and built this. how these guys became lifelong friends and enthusiasts of motorcycling and craftsmanship, and how the name Urban Monk originated. It's available from Amazon anywhere in the world that Amazon ships, in both paperback and ebook, or you can purchase through a link found on urbanmonktv.com. Get your copy of Creating Mr. Corton today.
Okay, sorry, to save memory on my camera, I did a couple of things off camera, but they're simple. All I did was take a screwdriver down below on this bracket and pop out these two plug assemblies so that I can see the back side of them. Now I can clearly see my green wire coming from the Reg Rec and the red and white, which is actually jumped here between these two and then heads off to our fuse. I can get in there, and I can get in here, and I can get up there to the yellow, and that's what I need, is access to the red, white, the green, and the yellows. So then what do I need for tools? One simple thing, a multimeter with resistance or ohms check on it. I have to set this for ohms. Here, let me show you what I'm doing. So ohms is down here on my multimeter, and there's a range of different settings that we can use here, but I'm going to use the absolute lowest 200 ohm setting, and that'll, essentially test everything up to 200 ohms in resistance. And these things are cheap. I actually got this and 3 just like it free at Harbor Freight with a purchase, and they work fine. And but get yourself a multimeter wherever you get it. When I put this on ohms, I get, a nothing reading essentially, and when I touch the two contacts together, and I'm trying to do this while I'm on camera, I should get something very close to 0. Pretty darn close. These are actually adjustable a little bit, but essentially you got to have a good battery in here for this to work, because it's sending a small amount of juice through the circuit and testing how much resistance there is to the flow of that juice. Gosh, I use a lot of technical terms like juice. So essentially, we're going to test for continuity. We're not really concerned with any sort of specific numbers, just do we have continuity or not when we position our probes in a certain configuration across certain wires. I already pointed out that what we're concerned with are the yellow wires, the green wire, and the red and white wire. And first what we're going to do is test for continuity. So we're looking for this thing to go to that 0 point almost nothing reading. Then we know that we have electricity flowing through that circuit. And we're going to test on the, we're going to put the positive probe on yellow and the negative probe on green. That's our first test. And then we're going to put the positive probe on the red-white and the negative probe on the yellow. I'll put up a little thing you can freeze frame on to remember that. So I'm trying to set this all up in a way where you can see the display and I don't have to edit in a separate 2 camera angles thing. I'm just trying to make it easy on myself, but I want you guys to be able to see this. So again, our positive probe is going up to the yellow, which is up here. I'm just going to choose any one of these. And hopefully I have contact there with the metal. I should. It's dirty in there, so I'm going to have to wiggle it around a little bit. And then the green. And I have continuity. Then the red-white is actually on the same plug here with the green, and it's got a high temperature insulating sleeve around it. So I got to dig down in there with my negative. That should be good. not getting continuity, so I'm questioning whether I'm making a good contact. Oh, because I have them in the wrong direction. Now the negative goes to the yellow and the positive, so sorry about that, positive to red, white, negative to yellow. I am trying every possible configuration I can here. I should have continuity. I do not. And I know I'm making a connection here. Positive to red, white, negative to yellow. Okay. So with that, I believe I have determined that I have a bad regulator rectifier. But just for the benefit of this video and you guys watching who may not have a bad rectifier, regulator, let me continue on with the testing so you see all of the tests you're supposed to do. Essentially, we reverse everything. First one is positive to green. So this is actually just the reverse of our first test, and negative to yellow. And we should have no continuity. Oh, and look, I do have continuity. I should not. And if I go yellow to red, white, and the positive is on the yellow, switching this around, there too I should get no continuity, and I'm not, but I've got a bad regulator rectifier, and I've got a bad stator, which is in my previous video. So I am done with my testing for today, and I've shown you guys how to test yours. Whether it's good or bad, the procedure is going to be the same. My regulator rectifier is bad, so we know we have to replace that. And the stator. More than likely what happened is one of those two parts went bad first, and when you've got 70 something volts coming out of a bad stator and grounding out, or maybe just pouring into the regulator rectifier, you can either fry the reg rec, or if the reg rec goes first, then you can fry the stator. And you end up frying the battery either way in both of those scenarios. So I know I got a bad battery, I know I have a bad regulator rectifier, and I know I have a bad stator. The whole electrical system on this bike is really challenged right now. The funny thing is that because the CX500 is designed with a magneto ignition system separate from the battery and charging system, the engine will still run on this bike if I can get gas in it and all that. But I need to, and clean the carbs, I need to get parts ordered up for electrics. And I will have a future video on whose parts I end up deciding to go with on that. There are some options out there, and Honda OEM is not one of the options, at least not for the stator. So, but we can get these parts still. Thankfully, they sold a lot of these. So I know I said we'd go further in this video with working toward getting the engine started, but you know, now that I know I've got so many electrical problems, I just don't see a point in doing that. I have ridden this bike myself personally, so I know it will run. I know I don't have some catastrophic engine problem that's kind of unbeknownst to me, and so normally I would say get it running first before you tear it down, but in this case I already had it running, just that was a while ago before storage. And if you want a custom-made cafe racer seat like mine, or whatever you can conceive of, Rodney is your man at Allison Sales and Canvas. He can help you out with that. And if you like what I'm doing here in these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to get notifications of when I put new content up on either my CX500, V-Strom maintenance, or continued maintenance and ride videos on the Cafe Racer and the V-Strom. And check out my book, Creating Mr. Corton, which is a memoir of that Cafe Racer build and a memoir of me growing up in Fargo buying one of these. Thanks for watching.